Hello there! In today's video, I'm releasing 27 Halo mods. Just kidding, it's only 19 Halo mods, because 8 of them are actually Halo 2 mods. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Let's start the video over properly this time. Well, at least that was kinda lucky. Oh. Back when I was in high school during the ancient era of 2007, I learned how to make mods, and I made quite a lot of them. I also released a lot of mods for Halo PC specifically, but sadly not a lot of people have the old Halo PC anymore to play them. One day though, an old Halo modder by the name of R93 Sniper DM'd me and asked me if he could port some of my old stuff to MCC. I of course said yes and then offered to help. I then took his very simple porting project and made it infinitely more complicated because that's just what I do. And now we have remastered versions of just about every single Halo mod I've ever made, starting from 2007 and ending around 2019. Basically everything I made before Cursed Halo. And for today's video, I'm going to review and rank every single one of these maps on a tier list, because tier lists are really good for engagement on YouTube. Some of these mods are interesting, others are actually pretty good, and a few of them are absolute cringe. So let's get right into it and overanalyze some of my childhood mod projects, like some kind of critic of nostalgia. Up first is a cute little hoverboard mod I released in July of 2008. This mod is incredibly short, taking only 2 or 3 minutes to finish. Downloading the file back in 2008 probably would have taken longer than playing the mod. The level consists of a long obstacle course that you have to zoom through, and at the end, you get a medal based on how much time you took. There's also an odd feature where pressing the crouch button causes you to do flips. There is no incentive to do like tricks or anything. I guess I just thought it would be cool to include. And yeah, I guess it is kinda cool, so yeah. Overall, I don't think this map is particularly bad, but it is a bit too short and simple to really rank it highly. If I were to completely remake this mod today, I would probably have AI racers to compete against, and the course would be a lot longer and have a wider variety of obstacles. I also don't know what is going on with the level itself. You start out in some kind of Forerunner architecture, and then you go through a pipe and suddenly you're in High Charity. I bet you my entire thought process back then was, wow, that's cool, let's do that. So I'm gonna throw this one in C tier. Not bad, but nothing special. Next up is a map called Shard, released in October of 2008. And I find this one kind of interesting. This is literally a Minecraft spleef map, but Minecraft didn't even exist until 2009. It's also kind of funny that I basically remade this same map but way better in the Halo 3 Minecraft mod that I released in 2022. I didn't even realize I was remaking one of my old mods at the time. I had completely forgotten about this map until I started working on this project. I guess it was just living deep inside my subconscious, waiting for its chance to be The map itself plays fairly well. It's nothing super groundbreaking, but at the time I released it, I think it was considered fairly innovative. Nowadays, not so much though. If we were back in 2008, I probably would put this in A tier. But since it is current year, I think it sits quite nicely in B tier. Oh dear, would you look at that? Ad time. Today's sponsor is Boot.dev, and honestly, this is the most fitting sponsor we've ever had on the channel. I constantly talk about all this janky meme code I write for these projects, and I complain about it a lot on the second channel especially, so having a sponsor that can teach you how to write clean, professional code and manage it in a nice way is pretty great. It's just too bad they weren't around when I was 16. Boot.dev has a wide array of classes teaching programming languages like Python and Go, as well as courses on using important tools like Git or SQL. And now that I think about it, this is kinda terrifying. The thought of all my viewers learning how to code and then going on my GitHub to make fun of me. Another great feature of Boot.dev is it gamifies the entire process of learning. You get XP, levels, and achievements for every lesson you do.
Little bits of encouragement like that can go a long way, and it makes completing a difficult problem feel rewarding. Certainly a step up from when I was learning, and the best you could get was someone calling you a moron on Stack Overflow.
I've had tons of people over the years DM me asking how to get started learning a mod or program, and I've always had pretty much the same advice. The best way to learn is to just do it.
Trying new things and making mistakes is an important part of the process of learning what does and doesn't work. And it's not something you can get from just reading a textbook. Boot.dev has tons of interactive lessons that require you to write code, which is the best way to learn in my opinion. And if you aren't sure if this will be for you, then don't fret, all the content on Boot.dev is free to read through, and if you want to try the hands-on courses for yourselves, they have a 30-day, no questions asked refund policy. So you can try it out and see how it feels with no risk.
So try out Boot.dev today and use the promo code InfernoPlus to get 25% off your entire first year if you use the annual plan. Ad over. Next up is the map Homestuck 2 that I made a video for in September of 2019. This map and the video I made for it were actually one of the catalysts that really got me back into modding. It was super well received at the time, and it made me realize how much I enjoyed working on mods. I've also been asked by a handful of people to port this to modern MCC because they wanted to play it. So here we are, and now the question is it any good? Sort of. Honestly, I feel like this map brings out some of Halo 2's biggest flaws, primarily the absolute dominance of the battle rifle. I found myself getting a little frustrated when playtesting this map, as it really does just devolve into battle rifle wars, fighting over which team gets the sniper rifle. I wouldn't say this map is bad by any means. It has a cool design, and I do like it. But if I were to redesign it now, I would have to heavily consider the battle rifle's range and sightlines, and add a lot more cover throughout the map. I feel like this map maybe sits somewhere between B and C tier, but it's a hard choice. I think I'm going to put it into C tier, because if I see another battle rifle, I'm going to fucking Minecraft myself. Our next mod is the 4 maps from the Halo 2 Without Friction video, also known as the Halo 2 Tribes mod. This mod was released in August 2018, and it was a complete shit show. The way I remember this project was that it barely worked, but it was really fun. Because of that, I decided to dedicate a fair amount of time to completely remastering it. The gameplay remains very similar to the old Halo 2 Project Cartographer version, but I redesigned all the visual effects and remodeled all the maps. I also added vehicles that were mostly broken in the original, and expanded the weapon sandbox a bit. The mod is still somewhat janky just due to the nature of using the Halo 2 engine in ways that it was really not meant to be used, but it remains a fast-paced and exciting mod to play. And to be completely honest, the playtest streams for this mod were probably the most fun I've had playing Halo in years. It kind of surprised me too. I didn't expect to hate the mod or anything, but I just sort of anticipated it to have some frustrating janky issues. Turns out the jank was actually fairly small, and the overall experience was absolute peak. The 4 maps in this mod are Arx Novena, Outpost, Katabatic, and Rain Dance. These maps all actually use height map data from the old Tribes games, but heavily modified to fit within the limitations of the Halo 2 game engine. The skiing in this mod is also default on, and you have to hold down crouch to walk normally. A bit difficult to get used to initially, but once you get a handle on it, it's quite fun to slide around and blast your friends out of the air. Another improvement made in this remaster is I managed to fix impulse jumping in multiplayer. For whatever reason, impulse jumping in Halo 2 is completely disabled by default. But in MCC, you can turn on the Sputnik skull in custom game lobbies, and it will re-enable it. It meant I had to rescale every physics value in the mod to match the Sputnik multipliers, but it was well worth it because now you can disc jump in this mod. And honestly, Tribes without disc jumping is just cringe. So yeah, I do love this mod, but I am biased because I also love Tribes and Tribes-like games. There really just aren't enough FPS-Z games out there anymore, and anytime I get to play one, it brings out the Pog from deep within my soul. But I digress. Let's go ahead and rate each of these maps individually. Outpost was actually the first map I made for this project. It's definitely the smallest of the group, but has a fairly steep gradient. The center of this map is a giant pit with a bridge spanning across, which creates some interesting dynamic situations during CTF. The map is also a large plateau, and it's very easy to overshoot and go sliding off into oblivion, which can be entertaining. Honestly, a great map. Easy A tier. Next up is Katabatic. This map is interesting as it has massive steep sand dunes, but a relatively flat lower area between them. This might be the most fun map to slide around on, and the layout makes for quick and frantic games of CTF. I like that the center route is short and easy, but dangerous due to it being where most players are fighting it out, while the various side routes take longer to traverse, but provide more safety and elevation. The fact that the bases are at the bottom of the map also means the sand dunes block line of sight in many areas, making side routes extremely useful. I think this map actually provides one of the most varied CTF experiences overall, but is held back a bit from S tier due to it being visually very simple and a bit too compact. So I'll give it a very high A tier. The third Tribes map is Rain Dance. This map has one of the simpler layouts and probably the most direct sightlines, but despite that, actually does have a pretty well-balanced offense and defense game. The design of the bases on this map is inspired by the OG Rain Dance map, so the flag stands are elevated quite a ways off the ground. This means grabbing and capping on this map requires a bit of finesse on the controls, and skiing back for the capture has to be done carefully, otherwise you risk bonking your knees on the platform and having an angry team descend upon you before you can jump your way back up.
Flag return.
This map is incredibly fun, and I'm going to slot it right here into S tier. The last Tribes map is Arx Navina. This map has been drastically changed from the old version of the mod. It was probably the weakest map in the pack previously, and now it is easily the most visually interesting. In terms of gameplay, this map probably has the strongest defense game with a large elevated base. Grabbing the flag can be tough here, but the bases are in fairly close proximity, so getting the flag out of the base can lead to a quick score. The little aqueducts running the length of the map can also provide an interesting gameplay opportunity for you to juke enemy players who are trying to chase you down. I may be a bit biased here since I spent the most time working on this map, but I'm gonna put this one in S tier. The new theme of this map is just super cool, and I love the way it turned out. So the Tribes mods are easily the highest ranked mod on this list so far, but we do have quite a few more mods to talk about, so let's see if it retains its top spot. I'd also like to quickly point out that I am actually ordering the tiers in this list. The further to the left a map is, the better it is in its own tier. Just a heads up. Our next map is a campaign mission called Epsilon, released in December of 2010. This is our first cringe map of the video, as it has voice acting from a bunch of teenagers with terrible microphones.
Shit! Something went wrong with AI. Washington lost control.
What went wrong? Is he okay?
Indeed, this is my very own Red vs. Blue fanfiction about the character Agent Washington. God help me. The basis of this mod is that Agent Washington gets implanted with the Epsilon AI, and it drives him crazy. You then get to play as Agent Washington trying to escape the fucking kill me. Gameplay-wise, it's fairly interesting. You never really fight enemies using human weapons in Halo, so the sandbox feels fresh. I also made shield recharge a lot faster to incentivize faster gameplay, instead of sitting in cover for 6 seconds every time you take a hit. This gives you the option to weave around cover and take constant shots, which can be a lot of fun. One thing that's notable about this mod though, is that it's a bit overtuned. The enemy AI is set up to be really aggressive, and can absolutely tear your shit up if you aren't paying attention.
Oh no!
This mod also has a secret firefight mode at the end that I have no memory of coding. I mean, it is there. I clearly did make it. It's just, I don't fucking remember this shit. The firefight mode is nothing special, mind you. It's simple, but it's fun, so I hope you guys like it. Overall, though, this particular mod is very enjoyable, and I think it deserves A tier despite the terrible voice acting and the cringe fanfic. Somehow, I was indeed cooking with this one. Next up, we have a multiplayer version of Cairo Station for Halo 1, released in December of 2008. Out of all the maps in this pack, this one took the most time to port and remaster. Like, it was not even close. I spent far too long on this map because it was never actually finished. The description of the original mod on halomaps.org, which I wrote 16 years ago, points out that I couldn't really get it working the way I wanted to, and I just released it as is. I could have just been lazy and ported it in its incomplete state, but I have brain damage. So I tore it apart and rebuilt the entire thing using my old memories as a reference. I wanted to make the mod that my 16-year-old self envisioned, using the skills that I have today as a 90-year-old boomer. And I did just that. Here are some comparison shots between the original map and the remastered version. I think it should be pretty obvious just how much of an improvement this is. But visuals are just visuals. How does it play? Well, this map was originally inspired by maps like Huge Ass and Cold Snap, which were super popular when I was a kid. These types of maps were adored for having really cool giant vehicles and gargantuan maps to fly them around on. But that novelty is really all they had. Mods of this variety almost always had two major balancing issues. The first being that oversized maps are cool and all, but they just result in you flying or driving in a straight line for a really long time before you actually get to shoot at anything. The way I tried to solve this problem was in the layout of the Cairo Station map. The play area is actually fairly compact. Almost all the fighting happens on and around the space station. Each team has a hangar on a nearby ship where they spawn in and can organize. You can then either fly vehicles out of the hangar or teleport directly to the station. Because of this style of layout, you can go from spawn to dogfighting in like 20 seconds, which I think is ideal for making it a fun experience. But despite this, the map still retains its feeling of being gigantic because it's in space and there's a bunch of structures and spaceships all around you. The second issue that these big vehicle maps always seem to have is just damage scaling. Halo 1's engine was never really meant to have you flying vehicles like the Pelican and Longsword, and there's no game mechanic that can be leveraged to scale incoming damage for large vehicles that really makes any sense. Basically, in maps like Cold Snap and Huge Ass, you can kill a Longsword with a single well-placed missile on the cockpit. This sounds cool, but in actual gameplay it kinda sucks. Big vehicles need to be slow and tanky, and fast vehicles need to be paper tigers. Having every vehicle basically die in one hit is just kinda guh. So I did some research on this and learned how the damage calculations for Halo 1 vehicles actually work, and created a somewhat functional system for this. Pelicans, longswords, and tanks on this map are absolute beefcakes now, and can just soak up missiles and machine guns all day long. By having the new classification of super tanky vehicle, I was able to balance the weapon and vehicle sandbox around this simple rock, paper, scissors game. Longswords get blown up by tanks get strafed by kestrels, and kestrels get blown out of the sky by longswords. But that is a bit of an oversimplification. Since I spent so much time working on this mod's unique weapon and vehicle setup, I'm going to take some time to actually elaborate on it. So, here we go. Starting out small, we have a modified version of the Kestrel. The Kestrel was a cut vehicle from Halo 1 that hovers around with propellers and shoots rockets. I made a custom version of this though that has jet thrusters capable of spaceflight. This vehicle is stupidly fast, with a pair of machine guns and two large unguided missiles for combat. And it is also made of paper, so if you are smart with your flying, you can zoom in and blow stuff up and get out before anyone ever realizes you were there. It's also incredibly fun to dogfight in. Next up, we have our 3 Warthog variants for the map. Now you might be thinking, how do Warthogs get around in a space map? The answer is teleporters, of course. The first Warthog type is the minigun. This thing spews bullets out at an unholy rate. It's fairly effective against all types of vehicles, but requires good aim since the bullets have travel time. Shooting down a Kestrel as it flies overhead is super satisfying, but you gotta lead your shots by quite a lot to catch one. Next up is the Missile Warthog. This Warthog has a set of 4 homing missiles. These missiles are incredibly strong against flying vehicles as they will chase them down aggressively and deal a lot of damage. But the downside is they require a lock-on to fire. If you're fighting small enemies in a close quarters environment, it can be hard to get a lock before you get blown to pieces. But if you're on top of the station with a bunch of Kestrels buzzing around you, you could send them all running away pissing and screaming because they have an AIM-120 AMRAAM locked on their dumb ass. Our final Warthog is of course the Gauss Warthog. This Warthog fires high velocity, high damage projectiles that are very strong against vehicle armor and easy to aim, but are not quite as lethal to players on foot. This was definitely a balance-driven choice, as I know it doesn't really make a lot of sense that this does less damage to players than vehicles, but I felt it would be unfun to have a high-speed insta-kill projectile that's just good against everything. The next vehicle I want to talk about is the Longsword. This is the vehicle that received the most balance adjustments over the development of this mod. It was completely useless for a few patches, and then over time I redesigned it to make it into an absolute monster. This is one of the only vehicles in the mod that requires 2 players to fly. One player pilots the vehicle while the second player controls the weapon systems. The weapon systems on this vehicle are also unique in that they consist of 2 bottom-mounted Gauss cannons that can swivel around to aim at anything below the longsword, as well as a bomb bay that can deploy a barrage of high explosive bombs. This makes the longsword exceedingly dangerous if you are below it, but completely harmless if you are above it. All the guns are on the bottom, so it is a team effort between the pilot and the weapon system operator to make it work. The pilot has to focus on keeping the vehicle in the ideal position to fire, and the WSO has to focus on prioritizing dangerous targets. If a Kestrel manages to fly up above you, it could be serious trouble, but an enemy tank or longsword leveling its weapons on you can also create a lot of problems too. This vehicle presents a lot of really interesting gameplay situations, and I am actually really glad I spent multiple days redesigning it. Next up is the Pelican. This particular version of the Pelican is also unique to this mod. For weapons, it has a bottom-mounted chain gun that can swivel around in all directions. And as a secondary, it has 2 forward-mounted missile pods that can shoot out a barrage of unguided rockets. The chain gun is primarily a self-defense weapon for dealing with smaller targets harassing the Pelican, and the rocket barrage is for strafing ground targets that are susceptible to large AoE damage. That isn't to say that you can't hit flying vehicles with it, but good luck with that. The real fun of the Pelican isn't the weapons though, it's the cargo space. This vehicle has enough space to fit most of your team in it, and if some dumbass in a Kestrel thinks they want to fly up behind you and blast you, your team is in the perfect spot to just gun them down. In addition to player cargo though, there is also vehicle cargo too. The Pelican in this mod can pick up any Warthog or tank and then just drop it off wherever you want. Implementing this into Halo 1's multiplayer was not easy, but it's something I've always wanted to do, so it was 100% worth it. I'm already eagerly awaiting someone making an epic montage of picking up Warthogs and then dropping them from high altitude to... Last up on the list, we have the tank, which you may be thinking is just the normal Halo 1 tank, but it's actually pretty heavily adjusted. First off, the camera has been moved to basically sit right on top of the guns. This was done because the low ceiling clearance caused the normal camera to clip into walls a lot, but I also made this change for balance reasons. Most of the targets you're shooting at with the cannon are going to be really far away and up in the air, so accuracy is very important, and lining the camera up with the cannon barrel makes it easier to lead your shots. The cannon on the tank is obscenely strong against vehicles, while the chain gun is good for taking out close-up small targets. This makes the tank feel more like a giant slow-moving sniper rifle sometimes. And that wraps up the vehicles of this map. But what about players on foot? Well, you also get a full set of customized weapons as well. When you spawn in, you will have the new assault rifle and pistol, and for the first time ever in Halo 1, the assault rifle actually fills the role of a rifle. It's fairly accurate, has a scope, and as a bonus, it has an underbarrel grenade launcher for its secondary fire. The pistol, on the other hand, is actually a shorter range weapon with a high fire rate that can be quickly swapped to if you run out of ammo. We also have the shotgun, which honestly didn't change much. The spread is just tightened up a little bit, but the Halo 1 shotgun was already a beast, so it's still just a beast. There's also the new missile launcher, which fires homing missiles, but requires a lock-on similar to the missile Warthog, basically filling the role of a portable anti-air weapon. Then we have the Gauss sniper rifle, which is dramatically different. To start, it fires a Gauss round similar to a Gauss Warthog, so it's not hit scan. It also has a short charge-up time, so you can't whip it out and insta-kill people with it close up. And finally, it's inaccurate when you aren't scoped in, so it's kinda terrible up close. Basically, the complete opposite of the original Halo 1 sniper rifle. Now, I can already hear people screaming death threats at me, but come on guys, we all know the Halo 1 sniper rifle is balanced like a nuclear bomb in a sword fight. And speaking of nuclear bombs, the last weapon on this map is a nuclear bomb. You pick it up, arm it, stick it on a wall or a vehicle or another player, and then count down from 35 seconds, and it goes boom. But I think that's enough ranting about this mod. It is super fun and fairly well balanced for Capture the Flag. Every part of this weapon and vehicle sandbox actually has a purpose, and the map has more than a few unique mechanics that haven't really been done before in a Halo mod. The only real criticism of this map is that it's kind of hard to play unless you have a full lobby. This map absolutely belongs at the very top of S tier, no doubt. But what about the original unfinished version of this mod from 2008? Well, we loaded it up to see how it played, and dear God, it is a fucking mess. There is not enough time in this video to even begin to break this down, but if you want to peep the horror, it'll be on my second channel at some point soon. But for now, I am putting it in its own tier. It absolutely deserves it. So moving on, we have 2 maps from August of 2008 that were actually a joint effort between me and a friend I had in high school. This was a sort of, let's make a mod after school type deal. The 2 maps here are Duet and Anomaly. Yes, you heard me correctly. Not Anomaly, Anomaly. It's actually rather surprising that I passed my English classes, considering. Duet is a gimmick map that is kinda mid, but not terrible. It consists of 2 identical bases floating in space. Each base has an assortment of banshees scattered around it, and a large one-way energy shield encasing the structure. You can probably guess how this is played. You spawn in, jump in a banshee, and dogfight with the enemy team. It's not a new concept, it's not particularly complex or well-designed, and it's not all that pretty either. You know, I honestly feel like this map should be in D tier, but it's kind of fun. Like, we set it up for King of the Hills. The hill spawns right in the center and then just floating in space, and you have to fly banshees around in the hill. It's kind of cool. I think this map might actually be C tier. Anomaly, on the other hand, is an extremely tiny map designed for 1v1, and it is bad. Like, not completely unplayable bad, but dear God, when I say this map is small, I mean it is microscopic. It feels like I made a mistake with the scale, but didn't know how to make it bigger, so I just left it like that. Bro, you press Control A and then R and drag the gizmo. It's not hard. What is wrong with me? This map is also very wide open and lacks any decent cover, especially from grenades. There is nowhere you can stand on this map and not get shot or blown up. It is a nightmare. This map goes in the Anomaly tier, because it deserves its own place in hell. So we finally come to this mod. The last map pack, or TLMP, was a project I worked on throughout the entirety of high school. It was my goal to create a map pack for Halo 1 that was as big as the original game's collection of maps, but also at the same level of quality as well. I really do wish I could go back and get my old hard drive from my computer as a kid and show you guys all the different iterations of each map and how I slowly got better at modding over the course of this project. But sadly, all I have is the final build of this mod, which I'll admit is more than enough content for this video. TLMP has 12 new multiplayer maps in it, each with its own unique theme and design. Or well, okay, mostly unique. We'll get to that in a minute. I'll just go ahead and talk about each of them in alphabetical order. Yep, that map is Lockout. That's Halo 1 Lockout. Okay, so before we go and write this off, I will make a few notes about it. The aesthetic of this map is cool. The layout is, of course, a copy from Halo 2, but I did stylize it in a way that looks nice, although it's maybe a bit too dark in places. I also made some minor changes to the geometry to make it fit a bit better in Halo 1 as well. It's a fun map. It plays really good. I mean, it's Lockout. Of course it's good. Lockout is just such a solid level. It doesn't matter what game you put it in. You can put it in Dark Souls and it'd still play good. I mean, I've already proven that at least. So, yeah, A tier, I guess. To be clear, this rating is solely based on how fun it is. If we were counting the fact that it's a remake of a Halo 2 map, I'd probably put it lower, but eh. Also, a fun fact, apparently the CE Plus project released in 2023 has like a better version of this map, but I don't think they were copying me. I think they just like had the same idea, or they saw this and subconsciously remembered it. It's kind of neat to see like, we have a remake of a remake now. Circle Pit is what happens when you teach 15-year-old me how to make shield doors in Halo 1. Like seriously, there's 20 of them on this tiny ass map. Surprisingly though, this map is actually kinda fucking goated. Sure, it's tiny and it lacks any form of restraint in its design, but the clusterfuck of shield doors actually creates a lot of good cover and helps segment gameplay areas in the map so that you can't cover every possible sightline and movement option with just a pistol. It honestly plays super well as a 1v1 or 3-player free-for-all map, and if you want to experience pure chaos, you can of course load it up in a 16-player lobby and witness oblivion. I did not expect this map to be as cool as it was, and it goes to show that a design doesn't have to be smart to be good. Sometimes being a kid and just saying, wow, that thing is really cool, I'll have 20 of them in my map, is the right choice. A tier, easily. Dismal Swamp is a straight up self-report. It's not great. With this map, I remember wanting to make a swamp level because there was almost none of them at the time. Which is kind of odd because the Halo 1 swamp aesthetic is really cool. For this map, I used some geometry ripped from Guilty Spark to stitch this together, and the layout ended up being a pretty straightforward 2-base CTF map. It's fairly large and dark, so you can sneak around a bit, which is fun. Getting Skyrim Stealth 100 from hiding behind rocks just to pop out and stick a plasma grenade on a warthog as it drives by is it's something. The big problem with this map, though, is it's very defensively stacked for CTF. Getting into the enemy base is pretty rough, and getting back out with the flag is basically impossible. This can lead to very stalemated games, which are not the best. This map could easily land in D tier, but I personally like the vibes enough that I want to bump it up to the bottom of C tier. Ah yes, here is the pretty one of the pack. This map was actually modeled by another modder who went by the name of Snafubar back in the day. He asked me if I could take his model and turn it into an actual map, and I accepted at the time. I think we went through a few rounds of layout changes and eventually settled on this particular version. While the model was almost entirely his, I had the task of texturing the map and making it actually work properly in the Halo 1 engine, which is always an interesting endeavor. The resulting map became this very pretty pistol hell. People who've played a lot of Halo 1 multiplayer will know exactly what I mean by that, but I'll explain it for the rest of you. The pistol in Halo 1 is an absolute murder machine, and doubly so at mid to long range. So maps that have wide open sightlines end up favoring the pistol very heavily, to the point where the weapon sandbox goes from this to, this. Now, if you take a look at this map's sightlines, you may notice they are very wide open. Thus, it gets the name Pistol Hell. Now, mind you, Pistol Hell maps aren't entirely bad. They can be a ton of fun. For example, one of the best maps in Halo 1, Hang 'em High, is an absolute Pistol Hell. But it's a fun-ass map that a lot of people really love, so don't write it off entirely. Harbinger overall is actually saved by having a few close quarters areas in the corners that give short-range weapons a place to shine. Especially since these two teleporters that link the corners of the map together allow you to switch back and forth from short range and long range, allowing you to catch people by surprise. This map makes for an interesting CTF game as well, though the bases are very defensively stacked. I think this map shines more on game types like Slayer and Oddball personally. And I'm actually going to put this one at the very bottom of S tier. The gameplay was probably closer to A tier, but the visuals really do bump it up just a bit, and I think it's fair. It is not over, Anakin. This map is not him. You may be thinking this is another remake map based on the Halo 3 map of the same name, but it is most certainly not. It's a bit more like that map's inbred cousin. It's a map that's too small for vehicles, but has vehicles on it. It's a map that is meant for asymmetrical game types in a game that doesn't actually have those game types in it. And it's a map that's trying to use unique mechanics, but does them really badly. The main play area of this map is a short run up a hill to an upper base. The entire run up can be covered by one guy with a pistol standing in the sniper tower, making it kind of awful for the bottom side team. And the second route up is through the cave, which is unreasonably dark. Now, I do remember that when I was making this map, I did this intentionally. I wanted to have a cool mechanic on this map where the cave was realistically dark and you had to use a flashlight for it. On one hand, okay, that's an idea. On the other hand, it's just bad. We also have an odd decision to have the main gate to the upper base be a Halo 3 style shield door, but you can just shut it off by hitting the button at the top of the wall. I don't know, it basically has zero impact on gameplay. It almost always gets turned off in the first minute of the game, and then it's just gone. I don't think this map would play any differently if it wasn't there. Overall, it's just kind of a jank mess. Not like completely unfun, mind you, but it's not good. D tier, no question. Moving on. So, I took two Hang 'em Highs and taped them together. It's fine, I don't know, I mean, Hang 'em High's a good map, so two of them isn't bad, right? It's just really low effort, so, C tier, I guess? There's not a whole lot to say about this one. You get shot with a pistol a lot, that is this map. It's getting shot with a pistol for like 10 minutes straight.
Oh, this is really similar to one of the maps I made for Cursed Halo, but way worse. Mindfuck is basically just Beaver Creek, but scaled up to be obnoxiously large. And not in a haha funny kind of way, more in a, oh my god, this takes way too long kind of way. It also has a normal size copy of each base inside of each base, and I imagine back in 2009 I would have made a yo dog meme, but I am far too cultured for that now. Anyways, this map is maidenless and has zero skibbity riz, Ohio D tier.
Okay, so here we have one of the smaller maps. This one consists of a frozen lake next to a couple of little Forerunner structures. This map was actually inspired by the map Snowbound from Halo 3, but it doesn't really resemble it at all. I think I just liked the vibe of that map and wanted to do something sort of adjacent. Gameplay-wise, it's a small map with plenty of cover. It has a circular layout with various teleporters around the perimeter. The rocket launcher spawns out on the ice, which can be difficult to grab without people blasting you. And if you walk too far out on the ice, you actually get glassed by an unseen Covenant ship way above. I really like this gimmick, actually. It's sort of like a diegetic kill box. Instead of having an invisible wall or a cliff or literally just a kill volume that makes you die, like there's an actual gameplay element of something shooting you from above, like an airstrike. It's kind of fun. The only criticism I have for this map is this tiny underground section right here. It feels really out of place and doesn't seem to serve any kind of gameplay purpose. The only time anyone ever seems to use this particular area of the map is during Oddball when you're just trying to hide from the enemy team. Otherwise, it just feels like an unused space. If I were to remake this map now, I'd probably cut that one piece out or connect it a little more cohesively to the rest of the map. As for ranking though, I do actually think this map just barely slides into S tier. It's not perfect by any means, but it has such a nice vibe, and I'm a sucker for small, fun maps, so yay. Back-to-back snow maps that are both inspired by Halo 3. This one is actually pretty much dead accurate though. It's Sandtrap but snowy, and really pretty actually too. Honestly, wood. Aesthetics aside, this is Sandtrap without the elephants, so the flag stands are just placed on opposite ends. The red flag is just sitting out in the open, while the blue team gets a fortress on their side. I did my best to balance this out by giving red team more resources to work with though. They get the only tank on the map, as well as a couple of extra turrets and better spawn areas. But even with those adjustments, the map does feel a little imbalanced at times, especially if blue team manages to steal the red team's tank. When that happens in a big game, it feels like red team just can't. At all. Despite the balance issues and the fact that this map is absolutely a pistol hell, it's still a big team battle CTF map, and those tend to just be a lot of fun. For all its problems, I still want to rank this one fairly highly just on vibes. I think it probably belongs at the bottom of A tier, but only just barely making the cut over B tier. Oh boy, it's the Pit. Why does this mod pack have so many maps based on Halo 3? Actually, that's a dumb question. I know why, because Halo 3 was still a new game at that time, and I was really excited to make maps based on it, so. Well, at least the Pit is a good map, and it plays very well in Halo 1, so that's pretty straightforward. The aesthetics of this map are also pretty interesting. It's meant to be sort of a space station, I think roughly inspired by Cairo Station from Halo 2. The effect is pretty good, and it's fairly well done. I will say I was a bit lazy with some of the detailing in places, but that's to be expected considering the skill level of my modding back then. The goofy part is that this map was actually really buggy during porting. It's one of the few maps that I had to rework the model for to get it to function nicely in MCC. Regardless though, this remastered version is completely fixed, and I think it sits very cleanly in B tier. Ah yes, finally, the Caveman map, Unga Bunga. This map is a primo pistol hell. It was so bad, in fact, that I actually moved the pistol and sniper spawn off the top of the base to make it somewhat reasonable. Having it up there on the top meant that one team would get a sniper rifle and then spawn camp the other team until the game was over. It was not fun. After that change, it was a little better, but I don't think this map plays particularly well. The arena of the map is this large cave interior with a waterfall flowing between the bases. But there is actually a second smaller area outside of the cave on this cliff face. This area, doesn't actually exist. During playtesting, no one ever went there. It's like a Halo liminal space that technically exists, but is adjacent to me getting spawn camped by 3 cavemen with Halo 1 pistols, so C tier. C tier for without a doubt. C tier without a doubt. The final map in the TLMP mod pack is Vertigo, a small interior map with 2 floors. Why did I call this map Vertigo? Fuck's sake. Anyways, Vertigo seems to be aesthetically inspired by Ivory Tower from Halo 2, having a couple of indoor gardens with skylights. The level itself is a symmetrical and simple shape, resembling 2 figure 8s stacked on top of each other. This map is good. It's the perfect size to make pistols and snipers work, but not be oppressive, and allow short-range weapons to shine in their respective areas. It also has enough line of sight breaks and corners to make it easy to surprise enemies and bounce grenades around fairly creatively. A super solid, super simple map with a good vibe, right there in A tier. The only reason I don't rate it higher is that it doesn't do anything that really stands out. It's just a really fundamentally solid map. So we're finally here. Nuts.map. I hate this one. Nuts.map was released in April of 2009, and it is a perfect time capsule of early 2000s humor, also known as cringe. This map was inspired by a Doom mod a friend of mine showed me at the time. This Doom map, known as Nuts.wad, was effectively a giant box filled with a zillion enemies, and that's it. Naturally, we thought this was hilarious and decided to make our own version of it for Halo, and thus, Nuts.map was born. Now the big surprise here, and something I don't want to admit, is that this map is kinda good. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's stupid, it's badly designed, but I mean, you can't argue with it. It's just fun. Now, since Halo 1's game engine can't actually handle thousands of enemies at a time, this map is set up into 5 waves that get progressively more difficult as you go. Each of these waves has you fighting about 100 enemies at once, which is pretty excessive. And interspersed throughout this is my friend screaming memes into his laptop microphone. It's glorious. Fucking beautiful. I highly recommend trying this out if you enjoy cringe. I also recommend trying it out if you don't. This map, it's God tier. Nothing can compare to its absolute glory. And now we go from the top to the bottom. Wetworks and Deep Freeze were released in January of 2009, right around the time that Halo 2 Vista launched. This was my first time modding Halo 2, and also the last time for quite a while, because Halo 2 Vista fucking sucked. This mod is barely even noteworthy. It's just a direct port of the map's Damnation and Chill Out from Halo 1. At the time, they were 2 of my favorite levels, and I just wanted to port them over, so I did. There's not really much to say about it. They work, they play okay. The sword spawn on Chill Out is a little insane. Whoever has the sword on Chill Out basically wins the game, because it's the Halo 2 sword on a tiny map. What do you expect? D tier for both of them. That's all that needs to be said. And now finally, our last mod of the video, Desert Hog for Halo 2 was released in November of 2019, along with a goofy ad video. Ironically, the sequel to this map ended up being made for Halo 1 a few years later, with the longest Warthog possible video. So Desert Hog 1 is for Halo 2, and Desert Hog 2 is for Halo 1. Yeah, that's probably on brand for me. But here we are. The original peak of warthogging has finally returned from the abyss, now playable on MCC. Thanos Hog, Aesthetic Hog, and of course, It's all here and with a shiny new coat of paint. And I mean that literally because I did retexture some things to make them look better. One other big improvement from the original is that this version actually has lighting. The old version of this map was so big that I could never get the light mapper to actually work on it. But over the years, I've learned many abilities that some would consider unnatural. And using my newfound powers, I was able to get a lighting solution for this obscenely long map. Aside from the lighting and shader improvements, it's pretty much all the same, and I recommend watching the old video if you haven't seen it. And guys, feel free to torture all the other Halo YouTubers out there by asking them to play this mod. I feel like I'm becoming the Colin Robinson of the Halo community. That's a reference, by the way. God tier, this map is perfect, and it is absolute cinema. Wow, you're still here. Did you enjoy this video? It's definitely a different style than my usual thing, but I'm hoping you guys liked it. If you did, then let me know, because I do have more mods from when I was a kid that I could dig up and share. I've also got some more videos on my second channel of the mods I showed today. I'm planning to post full playthroughs of the single player mods, and possibly do some multiplayer highlights as well. Oh, and of course, I've also got some IRL stuff coming along as well, like this video here where I try to parry a longsword with my face. Oh, and I almost forgot, I need to thank all the people who made this project possible. First and foremost is R93 Sniper, as he got this whole thing started and it wouldn't have been possible without him. I also want to thank Lavadito and Crow for some contributions they made to the Cairo Station mod specifically. And lastly, I want to thank Moz, General 101, Kavawuvi, Madam Lava, and Khan for just being helpful and knowledgeable members of the Halo community. So with that, have a great day, and don't forget to fill up the gas tank because it's a long way to Blue Base. Bye-bye!